Awesome. We're so happy you guys are here. Welcome to Rocket Fuel. As you guys know, United Community is brand agnostic for the real estate industry. We have speakers and guests that are joining us from all different brokerages, both in Canada and the USA. Although our leadership team of United is with Real, some of the most incredible relationships and guests and people that we have on this weekly mastermind are with Remax. And so today we want to talk about what everybody's talking about, which is the Real Remax acquisition, and just you guys to have an unfiltered, super collaborative, open conversation around what does this mean for the industry, and most of all, what does it mean for our clients? So today I'm excited. I am joined by my business partners at United, Joe, Raquel, and Ryan, and we have three incredible guests with us. We have Sonia Torres from Remax. She is the number one team in their market since 2017. She's an amazing team leader from Remax. We have David Ursino. He is a Remax managing broker who specializes in teaching agents how to build AI systems. So can't wait to get Dave's feedback, especially when it comes to the tech and things like that. And then we have JP. I knew I was going to screw up saying your last name. I
You're
asked him
so
to voice.
excited. You're so
I'm so
excited.
sorry, you guys. I literally voice noted him earlier. I'm like, please tell or please voice note me how to pronounce your last name. JP, I'm so sorry. JP,
Piccinini. You got it.
say it again.
Piccinini. Piccinini.
Piccinini. There we go.
You did it. You did it.
JP, you guys, he is a real estate leader and authority. He built and exited the largest independent brokerage in Texas, and we're so lucky to have him here with us today. Lots of Remax friends on this call, lots of real friends on this call, and lots of friends from all different brokerages. So, Joe, I'm going to give it over to you. I know that you're going to kick off the conversation, and you guys, we want this to be super open, a positive dialogue. So we welcome everybody to weigh in as well.
Yeah, so here's the rules, guys. There are none. So in talking about this call, now here's the truth. Amy and I have served as growth ambassadors at Real Broker for 4 or 5 years. I mean, since the program was created. We were in the room where it happened, as Hamilton would famously say. And we always, for the most part, we have a heads up. Like, if you guys hear of changes at the brokerage level, we've been discussing it with the C-suite for months. Not this time. I woke up last Monday, just like all of you, and text message from Taylor, my business partner, was like, bro, I think we're acquiring Remax. And I was like, what are you talking about?
You're like, just kidding,
So
isn't it? I was like, is
yeah,
it April 1st
yeah,
today?
I was like, it's like April 23rd. What are you talking about? So let's start with JP. JP, we've got Remax agents here. We've got real agents here. You're kind of our Switzerland in this. What were
That's
your
right.
thoughts? Well, I mean, you heard it when we heard it. What do you think?
My background is mergers and acquisition. I grew JPAR by acquiring companies, and some were smaller than mine as we were growing. Definitely not the magnitude of Real buying Remax, but we had 300-400 agents, and we would buy a 500-600 agent brokerage or something. So in different markets that we had no market share at all. So it's an interesting play. Definitely have seen this in 2007, 2008 with the market crash. There was a ton of consolidation. I actually have a bit of an insight on Remax because one of the guys that I hired and I consider a mentor is a gentleman by the name of Jeff Lewis, which was the president, first legal counsel, then the president of Remax. It took Remax public and was the face of Remax behind Dave Liniger when they expanded. They did all the deals that they did. And I was fortunate enough to work with Jeff at JPAR. I brought him in as the CEO of my franchise, and together we were we expanded a company in 22 states across the United States and franchised it. That was one of the. A lot of people know the Texas story, but they don't know the national story and the exit that we made there. And Jeff was so important to that success. And so we converted a lot of Remax franchises to JPAR franchises, and I understood all the debt and why Remax took so much debt. And I think it's a great play by Real because they bought Remax pennies on the dollar. To be honest with you, it's almost an insolvent company with all the debt that I had. Dave Liniger is older, needed the cash, I guess. Certainly didn't pan out as well as he probably would have thought when he started a company, or if he would have sold a company 10 years ago or something. So timing is great for real. Timing is not great for Remax. Remax, of course, is the largest brokerage with most transactions out of anybody out there. Agent count is a big enigma. Nobody really knows the true agent count for Remax because it's such a heavy emphasis on international. But what I love about Real and what I know about Real is the disruption, the technology side of things that Remax struggles. T-Sexy, as I call him, Travis Sexton, came on from T360 over the Remax, and he worked with us at JPAR to build the nation's leading tech stack, and he's trying to do that at Remax. And I think that's a great play, being able to plug in Real, because Real essentially bought the transactions. The agent count is unknown, but the number of transactions that Remax does plugs in, and they've done a really good job with Model Mortgage, really plugs into the ancillaries that are such a unicorn for so many brokerages to be able to crack. And with Model Mortgage and the title company that they've got and the seasoned agents, they've bought basically a immediate access to international community and an ungodly number of transactions that they can plug in the wallet and all the other ancillaries that Real can essentially profit from. And if Real profits, guess what? The agents profit, because if the Real company is successful, and I know the leadership at Real, everybody else within Real is going to trickle down and is going to be successful with that acquisition. So I love it. Long story short, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. In this market, you don't want to buy agents like Compass is doing. You want to buy transactions, and I think Real bought the transactions.
JP,
love that.
Go ahead. Just a question to piggyback off that came to mind. A lot of the narrative out there is obviously that, you said something about Real getting a really good deal, pennies on the dollar, whereas a lot of people are looking at the share price, only being at pre-transaction $8 and Real agreeing to pay $13.80. All of us don't have the experience that you have in mergers and acquisitions. Can you just shed some light on that for us? Why,
I'm going to blow your mind. I was in conversations, and this is the room where it happened. I love that Hamilton play. I love that show. And I love that soundtrack, Joe. I sing it all the time in the back of my head, believe it or not. But I was in talks, and we didn't even get a chance to propose the deal. It's taking Remax private because it was such a good deal. And what hesitated us was essentially the debt that Remax has. Mm-hmm. Although it's profitable, $100 million a year or something, net profits, the issue is the debt laden that it has of $400-something million. So when Remax went public, it was a $30-something a share. And we all know the market is going to come back. We all know we're going to see those crazy valuations. I would buy Real stocks at $2. Well, what's Real stocks doing today? Anybody who can tell me off the top of their head?
Yeah, it's like 205 or something like that. It's
205.
Yeah.
I'd buy so much Real stock as be ungodly. I mean, you're going to see this Real stock do the same thing that EXP stock did. I was talking to him a couple of nights ago. That $100, that 70, 80, whatever EXP stock hit. Buy now. This is another opportunity for everybody to really get in this. But the pennies on the dollar. I mean, the debt is substantial, and what's saved. And I don't know how Real put it all together, but I do know who gave them the money, and it's Apollo. And Apollo is notorious for getting into brokerages and borrowing money, like they did with Realogy once upon a time, and got involved with that. So it's a great move. I think I love it. It makes perfect sense. Remax is the most recognizable brand in the world when it comes to real estate. You can't put a price of that. And what they bought at $500 million seems like a lot, but with net profits of 120, you can really shave that down a lot more with Real's synergies. That 120 million, that would easily, I can imagine that's going to become 180 million pretty fast, and then within a couple of years you paid off your debt. So I love it.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, Taylor and I ran our Remax. We were Remax agents happily in the largest Remax in Las Vegas. 2010, we were called down to City Center and informed that our Remax franchise was now a Better Homes and Gardens franchise. And so it kind of pushed us into independent brokerage ownership, which we did for about 10 years before coming to Real. David, talk to us a little bit about your thoughts. I mean, you woke up on Monday just like the rest of us and heard the news. I mean, from a highly productive, highly successful perspective, involved in Remax, what are your thoughts? What have you digested over the last week? Where, give us an idea where you're at with this.
As well as what the feedback was from your agents. I would love to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The news was dropped at like 7:30 on Monday, and I was supposed to have the day off that day. I wasn't able to take the day off. It's going to be a long weekend for me. Oh well. So I knew I had to come into the office, obviously, and deal with some stuff. The news came out at 7:30. By 9:50, we had an email out to our agents, with limited information, but what does this really mean for you? So yeah, of course, there was some concern. Some agents were worried. We kind of wanted to, get on top of it and address the situation, the elephant in the room kind of thing, what it meant, what it could mean, all those things without knowing everything. We called a meeting with all our managers at noon. We had further discussions and handled it that way. And then by Tuesday, we had a training seminar set that turned into this, a conversation about this. The full 2 hours was a conversation about real acquiring Remax, obviously. What we did sort of, talk about and explain to the staff, so to the staff and our agents and let me back up a bit, right? I mean, I've been looking at this a little bit differently in terms of the way that this deal may have happened. And this is all conjecture on my part, but, I see Dave Liniger in his, early 80s. His wife's not doing well. She's been battling some health issues, and they've been at this for 50 years, and they had to make a decision, obviously, as to what happens with the company now. Like, how do we bring it forward? How do we put it in its best footing for the next 30, 40, another 50 years perhaps? And they had to make a decision. And one of my agents, when we had this meeting on Tuesday morning, one of my agents immediately said, well, you know what? This is like when you're sitting down with sellers who may not be wanting to sell their home. It's a home they love. They created tons of memories in. And it's the time that now maybe they can't go up and down the stairs as easily. Maybe they had the backyard. Maybe the house there's just too much upkeep with the house. The kids have moved out. It's a lot of work to maintain that house. And maybe that's what this was for David and Gail. It was a life stage decision, and they tried to do the best with what they had. Sure, do they wish it was more profitable, that they had less debt? Of course, of course. But realistically, a lot of that debt was taken on when the regions were bought out to make it all under one sort of Remax holding. So, Canada, from what I understand, costs like 250 million, plus all the other regions. I can imagine that debt is where most of that debt consolidated in. And so, they're left with a product that has debt that clearly something had to happen. It couldn't just keep going on the way that it was going. And maybe acquiring the regions was part of all this plan. I'm not sure. Again, conjecture. But here we are. We've been bought out. I think once the initial fear, the first 24 hours was done, I think most people, most agents are
David, just to correct you, you have not been bought out yet.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Right. Yeah, exactly. That doesn't happen for another few months. Technically, that still has to be completed. But once the fear wore off and the discussions, the questions were answered, the discussions were had, I think it's generally a positive mindset. People are excited. I think most of us understand that we needed some more technology. I specifically am into technology quite a bit, and I understand the importance of technology in our future and to remain relevant, most importantly. And so that's an important part of things, and I think we're all excited about it. And yeah, that's where I am right now. I mean, I'm sure they've got more to say, but that's my thought right now.
I think it's really impressive that you and your leadership team got communication, if you will, out to your agents as fast as you did, because that's definitely not the word on the street, that a lot were left floundering. So that just speaks volumes to like you as a leader and the leadership group of your franchises.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah, so
100%. Go ahead, Ryan.
As a team leader of a top producing team with Remax, How did you feel when you first heard? How are you feeling now about things that it's settled in? Like, how do you think this will affect your business, if at all? Does it give you advantages, disadvantages? How has the process been for you so far, and where are you at with feeling like it is as a move forward?
Is that for me, Ryan?
No, sorry, for
Sorry.
Sonia.
Yeah, I was pausing too, David. So good morning, everyone. I'm going to be very honest. So I'm going to beat you, David. I was actually on vacation in Florida, um, and my phone starts going off, and I'm like, oh God, Monday morning. And I was there with my business partner, Dolores. She's actually still there. And I'm looking at these messages, and I'm like, what is going on? So again, I'm going to be very honest. Amy is one of the first people that I messaged. I'm like, is this true? Is this just, a rumor? And yeah, I didn't hear much from our broker or anybody else. And obviously we run things a little bit different. We're on the ground. Remax in our area has the number one market share. And obviously, yes, Remax has been, I don't want to say losing steam, but there has been a lot of changes over the last 5 to 10 years, and you can kind of feel the shift. We have felt it, but ultimately we just focus on what we've been doing. Our initial first reaction, and again, I might be a little bit biased because I do love, Amy and Andrea Bloom and Stephen Kim, and so many other real agents. So I thought, you know what, this seems like a no-brainer between the AI platform and the relationships that we fostered, and obviously the mega brand that Remax is still worldwide. This is going to be great. This is going to be fantastic for both sides. We're looking at it as a great move on, obviously, what Real is doing is taking something that has already been built, and it's taken 50 years to build this reputation. And I think that they're going to have their own spin, and we're going to have our own spin. So by bringing the two brands together, I think this is going to be massive worldwide for the entire industry, and proud to be part of it.
Yeah, just for clarification purposes, a couple of things. The purchase is a little ways out. Amy was in
End of
Miami
August.
so we're looking at sometime in August. The intention, and Amy, maybe you can shed some light on this from your time in Miami. The intention is Real as a business model will continue to operate business as usual. Remax as a business model will continue to operate business as usual.
Yes.
There will be some additional technology benefits. So Sonia operating her team at Remax will have access to Reason, which is our transaction management software. We'll have access to Real Wallet. But there's no intention to just say, hey, congratulations, Remax agents, you're now Real, and your economics change and your branding changes. I've thought of it. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I agree with you. And it's certainly not an invitation for Real agents to be talking to Remax agents about coming to Real. That is absolutely not the purpose. That is not at all what our leadership or what our company wants or stands for. Remax is an incredible brokerage with the number one brand in the entire world in our industry. Real is a tech-forward, incredible community of entrepreneurial agents that have a different type of model. But those two individual business models, as of now, will coexist under Real Remax Group. And so Real Remax agents and Remax teams will continue to operate, and Real agents will continue to operate both under those separate umbrellas. And so to answer the question that was in the chat, no, there's nothing about this conversation that is centered around agent attraction from Remax to Real. This is a conversation around how are we going to collaborate together? How are we going to go further, faster together? What does this mean for Remax agents and teams within the Remax umbrella? And what does it mean for Real agents under the Real umbrella? Just to clarify.
Yeah, and Tony's asked the question, does this mean Real's going to start charging a monthly fee similar to Remax? There is, as far as I've been assured, there's zero changes coming to the Real economic platform. there's, as far as I understand, zero changes coming to the Remax economic platform. We've talked about forever, like, I think CrossFit is great. I think Pilates is great. I think salsa dancing is great. Like, people are going to choose their business model and their brand. Um, I will be leveraging the Remax brand as much as I can for our real estate team, but my intentions is to keep my economics 100% with real. I love the business model, especially running my team, but I know that there are agents in the Remax that ecosystem that feel the exact same way. And so if I'm a Remax agent, I think I'm waking up going like, well, this is rad. I'm going to get all the technology benefits that Real has to offer while maintaining my Remax team, franchise, whatever it is. And if I'm a Real agent, I'm waking up going like, well, this is awesome. I'm going to get to benefit from all of the branding and the legacy that is Remax while maintaining the economics and benefits I have being at Real. Am I right, Aim?
Yeah, absolutely. Sonia, what was the perception from your team agents?
I'll be honest. They're just they look to myself and Dolores just to kind of guide them through. Like you said, business as usual. Nothing really changes. Where we are. Clients still to serve. But yes, I think just knowing that there's something in the works that's going to be beneficial to them, and obviously systems will benefit everybody. But I do concur with Joe as well too. It's going to be leveraging that name and the systems for both parties. But I still, right? And we don't know what the next 5 years. And 5 years from now, this may change again. So this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think there will be an attempt on behalf of Real to build bridges of collaboration as much as possible. So, and I imagine there will be a lot of Remax agents and franchise owners who do the same. So I've gotten a lot of questions, like, what access are Real agents going to have to Remax brick and mortar offices? And so, because while we're huge fans of everything that Real has done, there is that desire to have like pop in and have a physical office space. I think there's a lot of Real agents that are holding buyer consults at Starbucks and things like that. And so I think there's some excitement on behalf of Real agents. Raquel, you coach agents from every brand, and you work with a lot of team leaders. What's been the feedback you've gotten, not just as a Real agent, but as a business coach for a lot of these team leaders? What are you hearing from the industry as far as positives, potential negatives? What are your thoughts?
I think it's definitely positive. You see a lot of consolidation happening in our industry. I think this is just a signal of where our industry is going. I think Amy said it best with like cloud. There's just these cloud brokerages, and then you've got a brand that has been tried and true, one of the best brands. That like who cannot like recognize this balloon, right? Of like Remax has built an amazing brand, and the questions that I think I've been getting is how does this impact, like this merger is better together and stronger, but because Real does not do commercial, we're not global, so how will this and what will happen when this merger does happen? Like, what is it that we need to stay in front of?
That's true. Ron Rocks is on here. I think Ron and some of you maybe have had the opportunity to. I'm pretty sure Ron came from Remax. Curious if he's available to kind of give us his perspective of what his experience was with Remax, and now having been with Real. I think there's a little bit of like, what do Real agents not understand about their partners now or soon at Remax, and what do Remax agents not understand or can learn from Real? So if Ron's on here, I'd love to hear his perspective. So David, what are some of the things you're excited about that will benefit your agents? Like, what are some of the positives of this thing?
Well, I think I've already mentioned the technology. That's sort of like the obvious piece. Clearly, I mean that's what Real is to us as Remax agents. Real means technology. So Remax is a big, huge ship to steer. Everything is takes a while to turn and to make that turn. It
Yeah.
takes a long time, right? So even with the technology, I mean, yeah, we you know, Remax does have tons of technology. They've got probably too much technology in the sense that it's too many disjointed pieces sometimes, right? So I'm looking forward to seeing the benefits and the any technology that lessens the friction agents are feeling when doing a deal. Like, let's make this as easy as possible.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to see. And that's what I'm excited about seeing. Having said that, like that's the positive thing to things. What I'm sort of concerned about, or and this is, I guess, ultimately, this is why it's important to sort of keep the two brands separate for the time being, for now at least. It's simply the vast difference in cultures, right? I'm in my mid 50s. I still think I'm young. I like technology. I like
You look good, bro.
adapting,
Yeah,
like
you look good.
but a lot of Remax is not like that. We still have agents doing stuff by paper sometimes, right? Like it's like that, right? And they want to submit that deal, that paperwork, to someone at the deals office. They don't want to take pictures of it with an app and send it off to. They want to be able to know, hey, Tanya, I know you're doing this deal. I need to tell you this, this, and that, right? And we've got a lot of those agents like that. But not the agents that we're bringing on now. They're not like that, right? So we have to, protect that base, and that base of older agents still doing things a little bit more traditionally, say it, are still the ones doing a lot of transactions, a big bulk of transactions, right?
Yeah.
So they still need a lot of support, a lot of just a lot of being there, a lot of getting together. I mean, we had this meeting last Tuesday. We had a mix in the crowd of young agents, middle agents, and older experienced agents that do, anything from a new agent doing, a couple of deals to a very, 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 very experienced agents doing lots of deals a year. But there was this common thread of like, at the end of the day, why was it that, there's these competing models out there, real, other ones, and, technology based, but why was it that they're staying here at Remax Premier? And it's not just, the brokerage is great, the training is great. It's not just that, right? It's also the ability of the agents to actually spend time together, be together. A lot of the learning comes not from me training them, it comes from them talking to each other at a training session, at a meeting, it's that synergy that happens beyond the scope of that day's agenda. And so a lot of them picked up on this and realized it and ultimately came to the decision of like, well, I'm here because I'm here, because the other models may not work great for me yet, or for me personally, or that's what they know and that's what they're comfortable with. And that made sense to me. It makes perfect sense to me. And it's the cultures are going to be different. And so we acquired a Royal LePage. For those that are not Canadian, Royal LePage is the second big sort of brand in Canada. We acquired a Royal LePage a couple of years ago, and we are still adapting our culture to theirs. We're still steering things slowly. We didn't change anything at the beginning. We'd let them, do their own thing other than the brand change, right? The signs and whatever. They were pretty much doing their own thing. So it's been a slow process. And we understand that that's probably the right way to do things, or that's at least what worked for us.
Yeah.
But
So JP, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I was just going to say
too much.
whoever's talking, please mute yourself.
I was just going to say, to David's point, Remax and a lot of other brokerages, they do buy technology or try to plug in many different pieces of technology. And someone who came from Remax to Real myself, the big difference with the technology being brokerage owned is how quickly the technology adapts and improves. And then the fact that it's all located in one place, because someone who's run teams before and, been an independent brokerage owner before as well, the big thing when you're piecing together technology is the more places you have to ask agents to log in, the more different tools they have to learn. They're just going to say no to all of it. And I think the big opportunity for the Remax agents here is that even if today they only, because, as you said, David, they're a little bit old school. So even if today they only adapt to one piece of the technology that they really need or they're already using, because it's all on the same platform, because it's all interconnected, and it's a great user experience, there's the opportunity for them to adapt to new technologies or implement more technology into their business much quicker because it's on the same platform with one click. And I think that's where I see a huge opportunity for Remax itself and Remax agents, because I went through that process of myself of like being at Remax and having SkySlope and having this and having this. And I didn't want to log into all of these different places. And now that when I switch to Real, it's all on one app, it's on my phone, and I'm leveraging things that I never would have leveraged before. And I think that's where the big opportunity is.
And that's a very, very valid point. And with the advent of AI now, like really, really starting to come out strongly,
Yeah.
we absolutely all need to adapt and do things quickly. And because those changes are happening quickly, right? So absolutely everything you're saying. By the way, are you the same Ryan that was were you at a different brokerage with Carl downtown
Yeah.
Toronto? Is that you?
I ran
Oh, nice.
Condos.ca
Okay,
and
cool.
Property.ca with Carl. Yeah.
All right, nice. Good to see you. Good to meet you.
Good to see you as well.
The connection and collaboration is happening real time in front of us.
There you go.
I would like to hear, like, JP, what your perspective on this for the clients, for the consumer. How does this benefit them, concern them, challenge them? Like, what's your thoughts on the client side?
There's a lot of speculation about what Real is going to do with Remax and whatnot. I think one thing is for sure, Remax brand is not going anywhere. It'd be really silly for them to spend $500 million and convert Real to Remax. I think that's a given. Having dealt with different brands and having been involved with mergers and acquisition, there's very little cross utilization, cross pollination of resources, believe it or not. It takes a lot of time. Even Realogy wasn't able to do it, or anywhere real estate. You're going to see the back end systems, if they're successful, you're going to see the back end system come across the high tech and the AI that Real has come across Remax. I think that's going to be a big mandate because there's a lot of profits there to be made from both companies on that side of it. But from a front facing, consumer facing, the agents are so protective of their brand that unless the two merge, they're going to be Real and Remax, and they're going to be proud of being Real or Remax. Now, can Remax introduce a residual? I think there's some very smart people at Real already trying to figure out how can we offer that to every Remax agent in the system, not just the wallet, but also how can we open the doors to the residual system that Real has built and is so popular now in the real estate industry. But from a consumer standpoint, we all know for the most part, so much research is done that consumers don't really care what brand the agent is with. That's just a myth. It doesn't exist. It's really all about the agent. So from an agent perspective, that changes nothing. And from a consumer standpoint, as long as Amy Youngren is still my agent, I don't care. Amy, you and I go back to exit days, right?
So long.
I mean, I started my career in South Carolina with a company called Russell and Jeffcoat. And I was the number one agent in my office, and I was the number one agent in my market. Back then, $30 million was a lot of money, especially when you're slinging $150,000 homes. And of course, I joined Exit with Amy. Amy was there, and she was up at corporate as well with Toronto. And that's how her and I got connected and know each other for so many years now. It's been like almost 20 years, right?
Please do not say that number aloud.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. Yeah, I've certainly paid my dues in every aspect of this business. And when I made the decision to go from the largest independent real estate brokerage in South Carolina and be number one agent in my office, I was scared because I had something like 30 listings. And I switched over to Exit Realty, and you know how many listings I sold, and you know how many agents asked me who is Exit. Exit was not known at all. The only thing Exit people thought of was the exit sign on the highway. There was no market share. There was zero. I lost 0 listings, and pretty much everybody says, "Are you still going to be my agent?" Absolutely. So if Remax agents go to Real or Real agents go to Remax, it doesn't matter. They're going to keep the market share. They're going to keep the agents. That won't change. So from a consumer standpoint, as long as Ryan Wicks is my agent, I'm perfectly happy. And then of course there's going to be some additional benefits that Ryan is going to be able to sit across from the table from the consumers, from the clients, saying, "Hey, now I'm part of the Remax network as well. I have access to this many agents and I have access to this many listings and these many resources because now we're the largest brokerage in the world." And that's going to make agents very, very successful if you spin it that way.
Let's
Joe,
talk first. Yeah, I was just going to break down. Go
yeah,
ahead.
okay, never mind. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to break down some of the nuts and bolts. We've gotten a lot of questions like, how does this merger work from, and JP, maybe you can shed some light, but from an economic standpoint. So for a lot of agents who've been at Real for a long time, you're going to see a change to your ownership stake in the company. There's going to be a 10-to-1 share consolidation, where if you have 10,000 shares of Real stock, it'll get consolidated down to 1,000 shares of Real stock, which sounds concerning until you realize A, what happens to the value, and B, why. So part of the issue that Real stock has had is the institutional willingness to invest in the company, because from a hedge fund perspective and things like that, they very rarely invest in stocks below a $5 market value. So when the consolidation happens, your stock will go from 10,000 shares worth $2.60 a share to 1,000 shares worth $26 a share. It's a little bit different for Remax shareholders, where Remax shareholders are going to be given a buyout option or a conversion option. So from a economic ownership standpoint, something to be aware of, that when this acquisition does take place, your ShareWorks or Morgan Stanley or E-Trade account, whatever, you're going to wake up and see that what was 10,000 shares is now 1,000 shares. There's going to be I don't know if this ticker symbol is going to change, whatever it is, but you're going to end up seeing a much higher value on your stock with a much lower number of shares owned. So just to kind of give you guys an idea of that, I think that it happens is one thing. Why it's happening is another. Like obviously, one of the benefits of Real is that the agents at Real earn an ownership stake in Real, which is a very rare thing to happen with traditional brokerage models. So just keep your eyes on that. Aim, I don't know if you had another subject you wanted to tackle, but.
Well, I wanted to introduce somebody that's a guest here on our screen that I just noticed has arrived. But Mr. Steve Helton is here with us today, and he is the Vice President of Business Development and Acquisitions for a group of like a Remax region in 4 different states, and they have 28 brokerages. And Steve and I have met recently, and he's here with us. So I just wanted him to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Amy. I've been intently listening and looking at the comments that everyone's coming in. And like JP says, it's not a done deal yet. There's still going to be some changes and everything that will come into play. But if you do look at the collaboration, you look at what the two strengths are from each side of the aisle when you come into it, it will be a very dynamic partnership that will be coming into play. How it's going to finally end up working out at the very end is unknown, like with anything else in real estate in this day and time. There's a lot of unknowns that are out there. But for the most part of it, the agents are very optimistic. They're very eager to see where that's coming from. And most people, they don't like change. They don't like the disruptions. But if it is like I think Ryan was saying, it is a one click to get into the back offices or to get into different technology to where you're not going into multiple different areas. That will definitely be a very big plus to the Remax agents coming into it. But I do think if it goes by the way Real and then the way Remax management has all said, I think it will be a very robust deal that will be coming through that's going to benefit every one of us.
Well, let's talk about from a branding perspective, guys. I mean, one of the benefits is, Sonia, you're now going to be able to say that not only are you a part of the largest legacy brand and most recognizable brands in real estate, but you're the second largest real estate company in the world. You're part of the fastest growing cloud-based brokerage in the world. Like, what are you excited about from a marketing and perspective, when it comes to not just clients, but agents and market and industry? Like, what is it going to mean to you to be a part of that second largest real estate company in the world?
And I think, David briefly touched on this as well too, and JP, the clients don't know, right? The clients hire
Right.
you. So the fact that we are evolving with the times, the clients, I'm going to be honest, they don't really care. But they do recognize the balloon. They do recognize who we are within the community. And I do own 2 independent offices under the All Stars brokerage, satellite offices. And for us, it's paramount to have that collaboration almost on a daily basis. We would not be able to operate without having these offices in place. And it's also a place for our clients to come. So for them, we're not necessarily coming to their house all the time. We're going through offers in a place that they feel comfortable, and it's a professional area. Maybe they put their kids to bed, whatever it is. But for us, it's been so crucial to have the office space. So I think in terms of the evolution with tech and AI and everything else, we are bringing that old school, belly to belly type of interaction, and then still have everything that is evolving, all the time with technology. So again, I don't think this is going to be so far, I haven't seen any negatives that would be, alarming. And I think for agents that, are just, again, on the ground, just day-to-day transactions, this is going to be of benefit to them. For us, obviously, the Remax balloon has brought so much leverage to our brand in a smaller town. There's only 50,000 people, in the town of Stouffville where we have our 2 offices. So the fact that we're evolving worldwide constantly, again, it's a plus, right?
Love it. JP, forget about the fear of public speaking. One of the greatest fears in the world, especially in the real estate industry, is the fear of missing out. So we've talked a lot about what it means to agents at Remax and agents at Real. We've got a few minutes left. What does this mean for agents that are sitting at mom and pop brokerages, the KWs of the world, the Century 21s of the world? Like, what are, in your opinion, what are those agents looking at with this acquisition? There's got to be massive FOMO on behalf of agents in the industry that are going to want to be a part of this momentum.
We saw this in 2007, 2008. All the small brokerages kind of collapsed and went under the big umbrellas for safety. Whether it was a brokerage, whether it was a team, with transactions dwindling, the financial aspect was the biggest concerning point of anybody running a serious business. And we're talking agents that do a bit of a number of transactions in volume. The ones that are doing 2, 3 transactions, they're not gonna move. They don't care. They don't do enough to justify learning any new systems or switching brokers or whatnot. But the agents that you want, the agents that are trying to make it through this downturn, and I can see the corner, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. They're going to be looking at, okay, I've probably got another year, 2 years worth of downturn before the market really turns back around. I'm going to really look under the hood here. Sounds like Real is doing well enough to be able to buy Remax. It's a legit company. What can I learn? How can I improve my margins as a business owner? I think you're going to see a lot of agents interested in starting to inquire about what does this mean? There's a lot of talk about Remax agents going over to Real. What's going to happen there? Look, let me tell you, there's not going to be anybody from Remax going over to Real. That's very, very few. Those Remax agents are proud. They're worn. They've been fighting that Remax brand for years and years and years. They're dumb proud, but they're super excited about the technology that Real can bring. So they're going to be waiting for that. And then you have opportunities to make more money, because Remax agents are all, my experience, are all business owners, seasoned. They understand their profit margins. They get it. They're great. And then the Real guys are going to be like, great opportunity for me to profit from the rev share systems and profit from the merger from a branding and strength standpoint. I don't sell real estate. It's been a while since I sold real estate, but Real, you've done such a great job at growing your brand, but that didn't happen overnight. I'm sure it was pretty tough sitting across from the table when Real was brand new to try to convince somebody to go with you as a Real agent versus perhaps you were competing against a Remax agent. Now, I'm sure, in a lot of markets, that's a moot point. But it still gives some clout to additional street cred, as we want to call it, to Real by pulling this deal together.
Love it.
Joe, Ron is on the call. I don't know if you saw him or not. We wanted you to weigh in, Ron.
Ron, give us your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly interesting being on both sides. I think you guys know I was with Remax for 20 years, the last 10 as an owner. It's interesting the difference between the two. I think the net to the company is about the same. So, like, if you look at what Real charges as a fee to its agents, and 60% of that money goes back to agents in a revenue share model, it's no different than a broker owner on the local Remax franchise. That 60% goes to operate that brokerage that they're operating, the front desk, the copiers, the coffee, and the different brick and mortar that they offer. So it would be interesting to see how those two eventually evolve. I do think that there's a place for the larger Remax broker owners to maybe have some consolidation. Maybe they have less people in their office, but they still have the commitment on their space. I could see them doing some type of model to where they offer space at kind of a co-working type space to come in and shared resources. I mean, they're looking for additional revenue. I think there's efficiencies there. I do think that there's also a lot of smaller size Remax broker owners that don't necessarily need to be an individual broker owner, and they may choose to either operate under the Real model or roll up and utilize space at another office. So I think that as as it evolves, I think that there's going to be efficiencies that are created on both sides of it. No questions about it.
It'd be really interesting if all of a sudden Remax introduces a residual plan and says, you know what, we're gonna now do Real pushes or gives the opportunity for Remax agents to opt in, keeping the brand the way it is, and just opt into a residual commission plan with stocks and everything else.
It's just only so many dollars. There's only so many dollars there to go around, right? So like the dollars that are going to the broker owner to operate the office, you can't just say, okay, we're going to turn on a revenue share model there unless it's significantly more. So where do those extra dollars come from? So that'd be the difference. I also would think that it would be great that there's a lot of Remax broker owners that are thinking, what my exit strategy right now is to recruit and maintain my individual office and my 1.1 square mile franchise until which time I go to retire, and then I have to find a suitor and sell this to them, in which case they could then choose to potentially transition their franchise maybe over into a revenue share model, and then they don't have a one-time sale, but they have revenue in perpetuity into their retirement by maintaining the agents that were there because of their leadership anyways. I think that there's those types of efficiencies that'll be created.
Yeah, Ron, we actually did that with Exit. A lot of a good portion of Remax agents, and Amy can confirm this, went over the Exit as a franchise. Once their franchise agreement expired, they were able to figure it out because the owner was now getting the residual, and that made up for a lot of the fees that the Remax that was paying corporate and whatnot. And so it was beneficial, financially beneficial for those Remax agents to switch over to the Exit franchise years and years and years ago. In fact, a lot of Exit franchisees were originally Remax owners. So there's a way to make it work. The financials and aspects has changed quite a bit since then, but there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. Guys, there's a lot Go ahead, Ron.
So I was just going to say the other interesting thing is that there's 8,500 Remax broker owners. There's one Real, and so there's a big difference there between the two. So the efficiency is coming from being one brokerage as opposed to being 8,500 brokerages. So Real purchased the franchise agreements, or much like a lease, that are in place until they're set to renew. So you want to make sure that they take care of the broker owners and that there's options there for them. And I think the tools and the systems that are being offered can make those individual broker owners significantly more profitable by leveraging these systems.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things we don't know. We're a week into this. We've got a few months to go before it becomes official. AIM, what we do know is that coming from our corporate team, this is not feeding frenzy of Real agents calling every Remax agent they know and saying, hey, come to Real. Like very specifically, Tamir is asking Real agents to exercise restraint. Obviously, if you have a friend you've been talking to about this pre-existing whatever, if somebody proactively reaches out to you, like that, those are some exceptions. But as has always been the policy with Real, we are not proactive cold calling anyone. That includes Remax agents. The goal for us is
that was long before
this.
That's in our ICA. That's our policy. This is an attraction model solely.
Right. And the goal from this, because I'm a Real agent, the goal for me is to continue to make sure that people understand the benefits with which I operate my business, the blessing it has been to my family. And if somebody proactively reaches out to me and says, hey, I'm curious about what you got going, it seems like the way you're running your business is working for you, then there's a conversation to be had. But Amy, talk maybe a little bit about that one thing that Remax agents may not know about Real, or may have already had somebody not doing it the right way. Like what is that attraction versus recruiting culture? What does that mean? Like what should Remax agents expect from their partners at Real?
I think it just really comes down to everything that we stand for, even at United, which is just open, collaborative, open playbooks, like helping one another be better in our industry. And that's how we're all going to win. At the end of the day, I think Sonia said it best, even like a couple of people have said it today, like build your brand, that no brokerage, no real estate market, nothing's going to ever be able to take away from you. And if we as an industry can come together under opportunities like this, like a completely brand agnostic community where week to week, this week aside, but week to week, we are on here with agents and experts from every single brand and brokerage, helping one another build their businesses, build their brands, understand technology, understand marketing. Like this is where it happens, is in settings like this. And that is really what Real stands for. And I actually see a ton of that from Remax as well. And so I think that this is just an opportunity for us to be better together and to go further faster. And the collaboration and the combination of the two are going to be an absolute force that our industry is not going to know what hit it. It's so exciting.
Yeah. So a question here, Ames. Somebody asked if we're not supposed to proactively try to attract agents. I wouldn't say that that's an accurate statement. I think we are supposed to proactively attract. What we're not supposed to do is proactively recruit or cold call or spam people. You and I spend a lot of time.
You're supposed to operate in a way that allows you to organically start conversations about your business. And you can do that through masterminds, events, trainings, like all the things that you could possibly do that would have you in position where you could be having conversations with other agents. But those are organic relationship building and organic conversations. You're not supposed to be picking up the phone or hitting the DMs without an actual established relationship. That's in our existing contract.
Yeah. So two things. It's important for people to know 86% of agents at Real are so happy to be at Real, and they do not participate in the revenue share program.
They're just selling a lot of real estate, which
they're just selling real estate.
We're the number 3 team. Remax was number 1 and Real was number 3 in the US in 2025 for per agent productivity. This is a production-based company, right, as Remax. The two combined are going to be an absolute force.
Now, there are times when I've made proactive calls. The most powerful one was to Amy. She and I had a 7-year working relationship. And I reached out to her and just said, hey, this may not be something you're interested in, but I'm looking for someone in your market who wants to operate the way I operate. And the conversation started from there. So,
but the difference, Joe, the difference though, is that we had mastermind and been in the same real estate community for 7 years. We knew each other. It's not like I looked down at my phone and was like, oh, who's Joe Herrera? Like, how many times have I been to trainings in your office in Vegas and we spoken on stages together and mastermind at the same round tables? Like, yeah, you made a proactive call to me, but that was from a pre-existing relationship and friendship in the end.
And to some degree, this is a topic for a whole other conversation, but I think The bottom line is, if you are cold calling anyone, like anyone you don't know, and just cold calling, especially Remax agents right now, please stop. And let's if you need to work on,
be better.
let's be better. If you need to work on a more attractive business so that every once in a while somebody hits you up, we're happy to share with you every single Monday on MondayRocketFuel.com, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, on how you should be building a business that is attractive to other agents in the industry. Cold calling people you don't know is certainly not one of them. So, Aim, bring us home.
Yeah, well, I think like the only way to bring us home is to like express our gratitude, you guys, for David Ursino, JP. I'm not going to even try to say your name. And Sonia. We are just so grateful for our relationship with you guys, for the way in which you elevate and raise our industry higher because of who you guys are as leaders. And so thank you so much for taking the time to weigh in, and we value and appreciate all of you. And to everybody who showed up today, thank you so much for being a part of this discussion. Guys, let's as an industry be better together. We'll see you next Monday for Rocket Fuel.